intense couple of weeks. Tuesday morning, August 8th, I began receiving multiple texts and calls about nearby evacuations in my area. And I shrugged it off, thinking it was just another brush fire, typical of the dry season in Hawaii. And I remember I closed all the windows and doors because the wind was howling and wild. I didn't even know that there was a hurricane passing south of the islands. But anyway, within a couple hours, news quickly traveled via Coconut Wireless, that's word of mouth here in Hawaii, that our neighboring community in Lahaina, Maui, right there, was engulfed in flames, with every boat in the harbor on fire. And I was, what? It seemed unimaginable. And as we waited for on-the-ground updates, no one anticipated the extent of the disaster. And a few hours later, after that, we heard accounts that within minutes, a firestorm had blasted through the city and devastated everything in its path. It sounded like something we only see in movies. The aftermath looked like a war zone, with over 2,700 structures, mostly homes, and an entire 9-mile radius were incinerated. Unidentifiable bodies were found still inside their vehicles, with the burnt out frames of their cars piled up on the road, revealing their desperation as they failed to escape the tsunami of flames. More than 1,000 people, many of our beloved keiki and kupuna, that's our children and elderly who were at home for the day while their parents worked, were missing. There's nothing but ash left of Lahaina town. With only ashes remaining at the site, the news that none of us wants to hear is coming. Do the calculations. Our Maui ohana has been plunged into homelessness and despair. Hawaii has been rocked to its core. So over the past few days, I've been staring out at Maui from my lanai, my porch right here, because the fate of my neighbors has haunted me day and night. Our neighborhoods are silent. Everybody feels it. So I wanted to see what the stars said about this catastrophe. I created a chart using the latitude, longitude, the date, and the time that the event began. If you want to see that chart, I'll leave a link so you could look at it. Remember, this is sidereal astrology. But anyway, Cancer was rising on the horizon east of Lanai, Maui, behind me, along with retrograde Venus. The ascendant was in the Gandanta position in the last and most volatile degree of the Cancer zodiac, with Uranus, called Shweta, or Shweta in Vedic astrology. Uranus was squaring from Aries at a very tight degree of fiery Kritika nakshatra. Ruled by the sun, this nakshatra personifies fire. And Shweta, Uranus, signifies explosive events. Ironically, the name Lahaina means merciless sun. Historically, the weather patterns on that area of the island were dry. They've always been dry. And the Hawaiians were expert astronomers, navigators, well educated in seasonal patterns and cycles, completely connected to the whole cosmic happening. And there's a local saying, the sun always shines in Lahaina. When I looked at the chart on this day, August 8th, the stars indicated, or not on that day because I looked at it after, but the stars indicated a sudden, unexpected event, likely one involving fire, one that was out of control and shocking. An event that brought shock and awe, which it did. With Saturn retrograde in Aquarius in the 8th house of the chart, the house of transformation and death, the chart showed many people lost their lives. With Ketu, the shadowy planet Ketu, the south lunar node, that shadowy planet that detaches us from this material reality. In the 4th house, and aspecting Saturn, there was also loss of homes and land. And extreme Rahu and explosive Sveta, Uranus, hemming the chart ruler from both sides in Aries, also indicated emotional turmoil and massive heartbreak. And finally, I saw that Pluto, called Tikshana in Sanskrit, observing this event from Capricorn while squaring Rahu at a tight degree, meant that something about this event was hidden. Possibly underhanded. There's something we don't know, and the factors are unknown. Just wildfires, negligence, arson, pure mismanagement, something else? At this point, does it even matter? Within minutes, thousands of lives were forever changed. You know, honestly, it was reminiscent of 9/11, which I personally watched unfold in real time from the hood of a car in the parking lot of a Duane Reade pharmacy, knowing that my boyfriend, a police officer, was on the morning shift at the foot of the World Trade Center. And when I witnessed the towers free fall, it seemed surreal. And there was a moment when the realization overcame me that the New York that I knew and loved would never be the same. And now I'm seeing, in the aftermath of this disaster, in Maui, these fires, an entire city is lost. And I have that same familiar, haunting feeling. And I know Hawaii and its ohana will never be the same. They'll recover because they're strong and they're all about community. But they will never know the life they knew before. Now, I say all of this in retrospect as far as the chart. Now, August 16th, the new moon is at the exact degree as when the fires began in Lahaina last week, on Tuesday the 8th. With this new moon at 29 degrees in the Gandanta position in Ashlesha Nakshatra, many of us will be feeling extremely emotional and immensely vulnerable. In these next 2 weeks, we may experience what feels like insurmountable fear. We may be feeling we cannot handle this fear, like we're drowning. We may feel overly sensitive. We may feel insecure. We may question if we can move forward with the coming changes. And this heightened sensitivity can bring great wisdom. We must learn to trust the transformation. We must learn to ride the massive wave. We must release and let go. As the moon crosses the energetic knot at the end of Cancer, we must learn to release and let go. And as it passes into Leo, we will discover more courage. Moon unties the karmic knots and assists us in releasing the poisons of Ashlesha, the serpent, so we can experience a potent transformation. Remember, I said 2 weeks ago, things are going to rise to the surface. Things are going to come out. And they probably have. This will apply to any dimension of your life, yourself, your relationship, wherever on this planet we exist, wherever our individual human experience is happening. So oddly, this situation reminded me of the Leela, or the pastime of Sri Krishna. If you know any of the pastimes of Krishna, when he danced on the hoods of the Kaliya serpent that had intentionally poisoned the waters of the Jamuna River. So seeing this misguided serpent full of venom take the lives of his beloved friends, Krishna defeated the vicious Kaliya by gracefully and ecstatically dancing on his 100 heads, forcing him to expel all his poisons in a rageful fit, upon which the serpent surrendered and ultimately transformed himself. So for some reason, this pastime kept coming to my mind as I was watching videos and rewatching videos of those harrowing moments spent by the few Lahaina survivors who escaped and made it to the water, where from a dark, poisoned ocean witnessed an inferno overtake their entire city. For hours they were neck deep in turbulent water, in the ocean, unsure of their fate. And in observing their shocked faces in the time lapse from when they got into the water and time was passing, some of them were in for 7, 8, 9 hours, waiting for somebody to come get them in the dark. Eventually in the dark. But in those videos, as I observed their shock, it appeared they were somehow, over the time, as time was passing, they were somehow surrendering to the reality of the situation, this terrifying and utterly transformational turning point in their lives. Amid all the chaos, they knew they were the fortunate ones. So this August new moon, this August 16th new moon, and the last 2 weeks of August will prepare us for an upcoming next level wave of transformation. In the past 2 weeks, a lot has come to surface to be revealed. of it ugly, a lot of it bewildering, a lot of it discomforting. Whether in the personal relationships or in the collective, whether we're observing it outside of us, in other people's lives, it feels raw. So the sun is really in my eyes right now. So we can expect more radical shifts and changes and more blindsiding events. Whether tropical cyclones or personal storms or volcanic eruptions or political explosions or tsunamis or emotional tidal waves. Shveta, Uranus, squaring this August new moon hints at a world-changing event. A world-changing event that will affect a generation. So whatever it is, as we weather the storms, we must all find new ways to open our hearts. We must transform ourselves and find new ways to love. It is with love, with heart opening, and the realization of our authentic, divine nature that we can overcome these upheavals and easily transition into the next phase of our expansion. Because in love, bhakti, in truth, satya, in fearlessness, abhaya, we are unstoppable. We are unstoppable. So Mālama Maui, please help Maui, pray for Maui. And I end this by saying, I love you all. Namaskaram and aloha.